really getting into the weeds with the idea, and I know he was just using it for, I guess, like as a hypothetical, but when he was talking about like rewarding people based upon like how hard they work, that whole thing just, I instinctively imagine how that's actually going to work in practice.
Oh, wait till part two of this debate then.
Oh my God, just divorce their income from their labor. Like from each according to his ability to each according to his need. And that way you don't have to have this giant bureaucracy to make sure that everybody's putting in the right amount of effort and labor.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a tricky thing, because I think when Marx is talking about from each according to his labor to each according to his needs, and particularly about the program, he's imagining. Remember, that's a standard for the more advanced stage of a communist society, and he's imagining such material abundance that you don't really need to worry too much about figuring out exactly who should get what, because there's so much to go around. And I think even though he doesn't make it explicit there, if you read like the fragment machines from Gundry, he's also imagining a society where like just tons of the work that's normally done by human beings has been automated away, so everybody just sort of pursuing their own passions can get done what work still has to be done by humans. And I agree that if those empirical predictions pan out, then yeah, absolutely, right? Like sure, that sounds great. But if it don't, or until you get to that advanced stage.
Can I just say, and I'm ashamed to say this, okay? I am ashamed, okay? I am ashamed. Ben Burgess actually comes off as being such a good faith like interlocutor based on these two fucking dipshits that he dragged along, okay? I can't believe it. For all the dumb shit I've argued with this guy about, compared to these two stooges, oh my God, this is the Ed, and they're Ed, and Eddie, okay? He's very much the leader of the trio here.
Then it might not be possible pragmatically to completely divorce people's income from what they're contributing. And so this is a reason why some people who, like David Schweikart, for example, John Wilmer, who might be Bhaskar Sankara, if you read the first chapter of the Socialist Manifesto, who have like alternative blueprints for sort of short-term feasible socialism, are willing to say, yeah, let's still have some some market mechanisms, precisely because they don't want to have some incredibly complicated bureaucracy, figured out what to pay everybody, and so you at least have a society where, okay, if you've still got a private sector, it's at least a private sector of worker co-ops that might not get everything that socialists traditionally wanted, but get a lot of them. Then you don't have to have some incredibly complicated mechanism for figuring out who is who counts as putting in what effort, in whose judgment. You can have, but you'd still have pay scales that are just unfathomably more egalitarian than what you get in standard capitalist corporations. Like even like Mondragon, right, the largest worker cooperative business in the world today, even though it's existing within a sea of capitalism, it has to compete with regular capitalist firms, and for certain kind of managerial or technical things, it has to like lure people away from those firms or whatever. But it's still like I think the highest, like the biggest wage differential you get within Mondragon from any two positions is like 9-to-1 or something, which is like nothing compared to
450 to 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to point this out also, like just as a theater nerd, when the person said like people are willing to pay to see LeBron James, like, and also even if it's to see him within the context of the NBA, well, it's still kind of making a point that the labor of everyone is contributing to that. But like, just like Liev Schreiber and Scarlett Johansson, I saw them do Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge on Broadway. Now, I was there to see A View from the Bridge, but 95% of that audience was there to see Scarlett Johansson, and it could have been absolutely any play whatsoever. So the idea of like divorcing LeBron James from the total amount of
wait, now how did he manage to miss the point so bad? Or I don't think as many people would show up to watch LeBron James just stand in a field, or to watch Scarlett Johansson just stand in a field. Like, the fact that you say they would see any play, yeah, they need to see you in an entire production. There's other stuff that goes in there. It's not to just watch a person stand in the middle of nowhere and do... Well, I mean, I'm sure there'd probably be some people that would pay for it, but I imagine it'd be far less than... far less than what they would normally pay. I mean, I would imagine, but who knows, Maybe, you know what? Maybe in some other world, maybe people would pay a lot of money to watch people stand around doing nothing.
Income that was coming in there, the way Destiny wanted to do it is just ridiculous, and not at all how it works with the consumer.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure I understood his point there, because I think that Michael Albert's actually getting that example from somebody who's actually even a much bigger defender of capitalism than Destiny is, which would be Robert Nozick in Anarchy State Utopia. This is it's updated, right? But like I'm pretty sure that's not a coincidence, right? Because it's even a basketball player, right? The original Nozick, it's the Wilt Chamberlain example. And Nozick is using this to argue that markets should determine the distribution of wealth, because Nozick's argument is that you can't have like an end state idea of what makes a distribution of wealth just, that it's just if it's very equal, or if inequality is correlated with things like how hard you work, or if like whatever.
How are they all missing this? Or am I missing this? It felt like Albert was trying to make the point to me that when somebody buys LeBron's labor for $20 million, the product is going to be worth more than the $20 million. That was the only point he was trying to make. I don't think this other thing about like fairness or how hard he works, I don't think Albert was at that part yet. I think he was just trying to make a point that the product is going to be worth more than what somebody would pay for the labor.
You can go through any particular, or if it's really meritocratic or whatever. And Nozick says, no, what makes a distribution of wealth just isn't what your end state distribution is at all. It's that it comes about in the right way, that it doesn't, that nobody's rights are violated, when it comes about. And his example is, if you start out with whatever you think a just distribution of income is, right? You start out with strict equality. If you think that's a just outcome, you start out with whatever it is that you think is just. And then everybody pays like $5 to see Wilt Chamberlain play basketball. And of course, you can't say it's not their money to spend however you want, because you started out with what you regard as a just distribution. Now suddenly Wilt Chamberlain is the richest person in the world, even though surely he shouldn't be, according to your theory of distributed justice. So it's like, this is supposed to be, it's like a reductio ad absurdum. It's like when a mathematician will say, here's how you prove that you can't have a largest even number. Imagine the largest even number. Now add 2 to it, right? You show inconsistency within the system, which, whatever. I mean, obviously I don't find that argument convincing for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, I think that just because all of the individual actions that amounted to something, were just, that doesn't necessarily mean the outcome's just. I mean, any more than the fact that every single molecule in this iPhone is invisible means that the iPhone itself is invisible. But I just found it kind of funny that like Albert seemed to be borrowing that example from the enemy, from Robert Nozick, and that Destiny was quite that resistant to it, and for reasons that I guess I didn't quite get his point in context. Like it seemed like this might be an example of him just not doing what you were saying, that it looks good to do debate, right? Which is just say which is just sort of concede a reasonable.
It's, oh my God, how do all three of them not hear what's happening here? What is going on? What the fuck?
A reasonable point, as opposed to
technically it is more complicated than that. They're not paying, just to see LeBron. If it were just LeBron shooting hoops by himself, they probably wouldn't pay as much to see it. Although I think they would still pay to see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who would pay to watch LeBron just shoot hoops by himself, or would pay to see LeBron.
But they wouldn't pay the same amount of money, obviously.
Eat his dinner, or weirder stuff involving LeBron.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew when I lived in Miami, I knew somebody who once paid like $200 or something to go to a New Year's Eve party, primarily because Dwayne Wade was going to be there on South Beach. So, that, I guess that does go to your point. But it's like also, okay, sure. Let's say most of them wouldn't pay as much.
Okay, there we go.
Just to see LeBron practice by himself. I don't really think that that's relevant to presumably what Michael Albert's point was, which was, as I would read it, I would assume this is what he was saying at least. Hey, if you think that people should just get paid whatever they end up with as a result of market forces, then LeBron is going to make, 300 gazillion times more than a paramedic does. But that seems awfully unfair. And it seems like even given all of his conclusions, Destiny should have just said, hey, I'm not interested in fairness or whatever, which would have actually at least intersected with the point, rather than nitpicking whether technically they're paying just to see LeBron or not.
It seems like maybe a red herring. Sorry, Rob, you go.
Oh, I was just saying, I think that sort of just came off as evasive, where you say like, well, there's other people. I mean, like you're saying, that seems like it's sort of like a technical little, like I don't think that's a serious reply, but it also, like to the ear, like it just sounds like evasive. You're like, well, that's not what he really makes each year. Like that's not a counter argument. Like Ben said, it doesn't really intersect with what Albert was saying.
But this is so worthless. God damn it, dude. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. But it also it has a sort of appeal in that it shows the audience that Destiny is the kind of person who thinks this.
More psychoanalysis, Andy, coming in over here. All right, Pizza Freud, what do you got?
Through to what appears to be a level that is much bigger than what Albert has thought it through. It gives that impression to a certain extent. So in sort of a subconscious emotional appeal, Destiny could come out of that with certain viewers seeming much stronger because he was able to start to point out other things with it, even though it's not actually a logical argument.
Interesting.
Yeah. One last thing before we go back and see if we can, try to get halfway through before we.
Let's do it.
But one thing also I will say that maybe was slightly confusing on Michael Albert's end was Destiny said he was anticipating that Albert was leading him towards some idea about exploitation, and Albert said, no, I don't really believe in, or that anyway, or I don't think that way of talking is helpful, or something like that. I don't remember what his exact wording was. And I think I know why not, because there are some ways of understanding what exploitation means. Like Paul Cockshott is a Marxist economist who has this really strict view, which actually I would argue that Marx himself probably didn't have if you read that closely, that anytime anybody is getting less than what they put in, like that they that they're that their like labor time, reflected in money. They're what they contribute with their labor is more than what they're getting back. That's exploitation. Maybe that's simplifying Cockshot's view, but like that kind of seems like from some of his formulations what he thinks. And so I suspect that Albert's point is that for various reasons, he doesn't think that. Like I'm guessing based on my conversation with Albert, like one of his reasons would be that for example, that you need to redistribute some money, I guess maybe not money. I'm actually a little unclear about that. In Albert's system, that's something. What role, if anything, money would still play?
Wait, they don't even know what participatory economics is. Why did they choose this debate to review? I'm so confused right now. All right, I guess you don't actually have to know a system to review this debate. I guess they just wanted to go over it blind. That's okay, actually. No, that's fine. That's fair, actually. I wouldn't necessarily research everything about a person's position before going into a debate. Although it seems strange that they would pick a Michael Albert debate to review then, but...
In Albert's version of participatory economics, I'm actually a little bit fuzzy about, but that like some resources, at least let's say, you'd still have to redistribute to, for example, care for people who can't work at all, or
so Michael Albert's way of doing this is every neighborhood has like its own council, and they vote on they submit a list, and then they vote on what resources, like what commodities and services, or wait, can a service be a commodity? What goods and services that any particular household will need throughout the year? They submit that yearly.
Or for, schooling for children or whatever, all of which I think actually, if you read Critique of the Gotha Program, Marx agreed with, but at least one straightforward way of understanding what it means to say that capitalists exploit workers, Albert actually endorsed, which was just that you have wildly unequal bargaining power, so you're able to get this income that is based purely on taking it, through that unequal bargaining power.
Which actually ties into something he said in the previous thing where he talked about how he didn't think remuneration should be dependent on power. And I thought that was a brilliant point to bring up early in the debate. Yeah. I can't remember how Destiny replied to that. I think he sidestepped it, if I'm not mistaken, as opposed to just biting.
Wait, what? Oh, Lord, is that what he's saying? That's such a tedious response to substantive critique? Wait, is that what we're listening right to right now? This is... Oh, God.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
That I've bent over backwards to try to be bridge builder kind,
You're very good at bending over backwards to me.
I used to pay $163 every month for car insurance. Now, check out how much I'm paying.
Backtracked on every one of their Before we talk about anything else, I want to just let you know that the COVID stimulus bill went from $2,000 checks to $1,400 one-time check. No one else in the Western world is doing it like that. Everyone else is getting checks with all the time. We went from $600 unemployment down to $300 unemployment, and there's no $15 minimum wage, even though it was promised by Joe Biden, every goddamn Democrat running, Kamala Harris, everybody's for the minimum wage. They still ain't going to give it to you. So there's no living wage. There's no health care. I mean, they did give you COBRA. They're going to spend $52 billion to give 1.6 million people COBRA instead of just giving people Medicare. That's so, just so you know, stimulus checks now have eligibility limits that are means tested. The Democrats have backtracked on every one of their promises, and the squad and the Progressive Caucus did not fight even one little bit or even have any strategy to get you anything. Now let's listen to Rachel. So this is a big failure, and this is their government abandoning you like no other West. Western government is the most right-wing governments in Europe are not screwing you as hard as the United States government is screwing its own people in this country. The farthest right-wing government in Europe is not screwing their workers like Americans are. Okay, so here's Rachel Maddow doing straight up. Now, when in that book, Manufacturing Consent, that their primary objective, Noam Chomsky tells us, their primary objective is to what? Is to manufacture consent for the establishment. And here we go.
They're going to start the home stretch final debate to pass the American Rescue Plan, the big COVID relief bill. That is the first thing the Biden administration and the Democrats in Congress put their shoulders to when they got sworn in just 2 months ago. But just at face value, it is more wide-reaching progressive legislation than anything passed in a generation. I mean, anything.
That's very much like being the skinniest kid at fat camp. Because just so you know, because we haven't passed any progressive legislation in my lifetime. How about that? There hasn't been any sweeping progressive legislation in my lifetime.
Well, can I say something about what she just said?
Yeah.
And maybe this is fishing a little bit, but I still think it's a point to be made. She started saying generation, and then if you notice, she stopped herself. She said sweeping progressive legislation in a generation, and she stopped herself before she said generation. And I think that one thing that is true about the corporate media is they really do not want to remind people that from Gen X to present day, every human being alive has known nothing but Reaganism politically in their entire lifetimes. They really do not want to say that out loud too often, because if they do, a lot of people might start looking around and going, I think this system might not work. Not even a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's a failure. So, and I'm not saying that's why she stopped herself before she said generation. I can't really make that call, but it was interesting to me. And I couldn't help but have that thought that she stopped herself before she said generation. We don't want to remind them of that.
That's exactly right. And that's we haven't had sweeping progressive. We've had nothing but Ronald Reaganism, conservatism, and even Barack Obama admitted that if you look at the lens of what he was doing, his policies would be considered moderate Republican in the 80s. That's what he said. Okay.
Thing passed by at least the last two Democratic presidents. I mean, legislatively, in terms of its progressive reach, in terms of its reach to make things better for people who need the most help, it is definitely on par with the Affordable Care Act, with Obamacare.
Hey, the Relief Act they just passed, it's on par with that thing that denied 30 million people health care and let everybody else go bankrupt when they got sick, while stuffing the pockets of the oligarchs. You mean it's that good? Isn't that amazing? And by the way, we got that Obamacare when there wasn't even a pandemic. And that's like, what a high bar. What a high bar, huh?
Yeah, her point of comparison right away is just complete and utter bullshit. She's like, it's better than the past 2 Democratic presidencies. Really? How did Bill Clinton handle the pandemic during his presidency? How did Barack Obama handle the pandemic during? Oh, wait, there were pandemics, so there's no comparison to be made there. And it's just
and because Barack Obama didn't pass a progressive healthcare policy. That's a right-wing healthcare policy. That's why in a generation, we haven't had a progressive president. We haven't had progressive legislation. We haven't had lefty legislation. We've had moderate right-wing legislation when we get a Democratic president, and we get crazy batshit right-wing stuff when we get a Republican. That's what's been going on. And she can't say that because that's the truth. But Rachel Maddow is here. She gets $30,000 a day, $30,000 a day to manufacture consent. And what she's doing is gaslighting you right now. She's trying to make you think that this is a good thing.
It's expected to cut child poverty in half.
It's expected to cut child poverty in half, Ron. Did you hear that? It's expected to cut child poverty in half. Why don't we cut child poverty in whole? Why are we doing it? Why don't we have whatever the fuck we're doing for the half? Why don't we do it for the total? Why are we leaving half the children in poverty in the richest country in the world and you guys have complete control of government? Why don't you do something that gets rid of all of it?
Yeah, the fact that we have child poverty in the first place is criminal beyond comprehension.
And their big idea when they get complete control of government is to get rid of just half of it. How much child poverty are you comfortable with? Half? Let's get rid of half of it. We'll keep half.
In this country through direct aid to families and through big sustained tax credits for families with kids. Just the school funding alone is a really big deal.
This is amazing. This is like watching a commercial for a drug, and they hired a celebrity spokesperson. That it's like she's trying to sell me Ambien right now. I'm going to tell you, this stuff is great. And you should also get an espresso. Those are fantastic too. And it's like she's selling shit. That's exactly what she's doing. She's acting. She's garbage. She's a garbage human being. She's acting, and she's hiding behind her identity to sell you corporate claptrap bullshit so you don't revolt against the people giving her $30,000 a day. That's what she's doing right now with fake eyelashes on.
Her big tell is it's a really big deal.
Yes.
Whenever she says it's a really big deal, that's like code for like she knows there's more to this and she's not going to tell you. When she did that segment where she pretended to not understand net neutrality because her paychecks are signed by Comcast, those were her exact words there, too. This is a really big deal. More at 11. I don't know. The school thing, it's a really big deal. And child poverty, it's better, I think.
It's very interesting that she compares this to other shitty right-wing bills that Democrats have passed, and she didn't she didn't compare it to every other country out there who gave their people a UBI and also are giving them health care. It's weird she didn't compare what the United States is doing against any other country. Isn't that weird? She is comparing it to other right-wing pro-corporate bills that other corporate pro-right-wing Democratic presidents have passed. That's what she's comparing it to. The shit Bill Clinton did. You know, when he did the Telecommunications Act, which took us from 50 media companies down to 6, when he, at the same time, he exploded the prison population as he gutted welfare. And then what did he do? He went on to deregulate Wall Street, which crashed our economy within 10 years. That's a lefty. She's comparing it to stuff he did. And then Barack Obama, who gave us a right-wing health care plan while he kicked 5.1 million families out of their house during a similar economic downturn, instead of helping them save their houses. This is what she's comparing it to. She's not comparing it to how Canada's handling the COVID. She's not comparing it to how the UK or Denmark or Sweden or Germany or Japan. She's not comparing it to anybody else, how they're handling COVID. Isn't that amazing?
She's not comparing it to COVID. She's bringing this complete false equivalency. And she knows better.
Of course.
Of course she knows better. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
She's such a garbage human being.
It's almost like saying, like, oh, man, well, Barack Obama didn't put a big old fire out, but Joe Biden at least brought a bucket of water over. Yeah, well, there wasn't an actual fire. He just did shitty right-wing stuff. Joe Biden, there was a fire, and he's like, here's some water, corn pop. That's great. He did it.
I mean, Ron, this is so over the top, this propaganda that she's doing. I mean, look at that's the look on her face like, yeah, what? Yeah,
She
it's
looks
all
tired.
It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. What am I going to do? It's all bullshit. She's got a million fucking tells.
Well, you know what it reminded you? You mentioned the acting thing, which I think was is accurate. What it reminded me of, and this is so random, but when I lived in Nashville and I'd occasionally go to hockey games, whenever the Preds would score, they'd play a song on the big screen, and I forget who the musician was, but it was some local country star, and they would sing a little song, and the guy had this look on his face like he doesn't really understand hockey, and someone explained it to him 2 minutes ago before he shot this video. and that's how she looks as she's giving this newscast.
Yes.
Like she doesn't really even know. Like she's like, okay, I'm just reading the thing because I know this is absolute bullshit.
Which kingdom has the best chance to conquer the world? Are you still confused about which kingdom to choose in Rise of Kingdoms? Each kingdom has its own characteristic. If you want to play an empire where the sun never sets, choose Britain. They have the special bow bonus and faster training speed. Plus, the longbowmen can take out enemies from miles away. If you prefer the infantry approach, choose Rome. The legionary has the fastest march speed and hundreds of formations to choose from. The point of swordsmanship is to knock out the enemy. Japan's samurai has a unique attack bonus. They're never afraid of duels. If you want the strongest cavalry, choose the Germans. Teutonic Knights are featured with the eagle of Germany. Combining impact and speed, they are the best choice for conquest.
Rise of Kingdoms. Download for free.
Okay, guys, this is crazy. I've got to share with you. I was paying $164 in car insurance, and now I'm only paying $19 a month for the same coverage. How might you ask?
Here we go.
For everybody who's been waiting on the direct stimulus payment that's going to come as part of it.
I'm going to back it up, and I'm going to show you one of her tells. So one of the tell when someone's lying and they're nervous is they blink a lot. And so now, because she's wearing the extra big, huge Megyn Kelly fake eyeglasses, what's that? What boy? I can. It really highlights her eyes, so I can tell. Watch, I'm going to back this up.
Funding alone is a really big deal.
Okay, now watch her eyes. It's a really big deal. Oh, fuck. I'm not making that up.
Everybody,
you can see that again. I'm going to be like Joanne Reed. I'm going to bring in my body language expert. Come on in. That's me. And let's watch.
Is a really big deal. For everybody who's been waiting.
She doesn't believe it for a second. Rachel Maddow's a straight up fucking con man for hire. She's a con man for hire, just like Chris Hayes is, fake tough guy Lawrence O'Donnell. They're all con men for fucking hire, and you know it if you're watching this show. And if you're watching this, you know it, because this is bullshit. She should be screaming about how your own government has abandoned you, and they got money for bombs, but they don't have money to help out people, and we've been waiting for a $15 minimum wage is too little, right? She's not saying anything like that. This is straight up propaganda. This is exactly the same, if not worse, than what the Fox News did for Trump. This is garbage.
On the direct stimulus payment that's going to come as part of this bill, apparently if the House passes it tomorrow and there isn't a delay in getting it over to the White House for the president's signature, those direct $1,400 payments may start going out next week.
Oh, wow.
People who have direct deposit.
It's funny because Joe Biden said it was going to go out about 2 fucking months ago. Isn't that weird?
It was a different number, too.
And it was $2,000. And they're making people wait forever.
Set up, we'll see the money.
They were able to impeach a guy who wasn't even president anymore. They were able to snap their fingers and impeach a guy who wasn't even president, but they couldn't get you this check. You still don't have it. She's saying it could go out next week. Maybe not. Who cares? You guys are doing all right, right?
Arrive first directly in their bank accounts. People who are getting a check instead of direct deposit will get it soon thereafter. The White House today explained that President Biden is not planning on putting his name anywhere on the check when those checks go out.
Because he's an idiot. That's not smart, Rachel. They're giggling like look how much integrity Joe Biden has. He's not going to do a stunt like that. Well, because he knows he's never going to run for office again. He's demented. He did it. He fooled you once. He fooled everybody once. He got elected while he was demented. They pulled it off. You want to hear? Remember this guy? This is the cool guy. MSNBC tried to sell us as, and the New York Times and Vice. They tried to sell this guy as the hip, cool guy, right? Because he's got a haircut like he should be doing 80s rock. I guess that's why, right?
I do like his haircut.
Me too.